All right, hello Chelsey. I'm taking a look now at your project from week 7. So it looks like you've used APA here, and your title page looks great. So great job with that. And you also repeated the title on page 2, so that's also great. So let's see what you wrote here. A lot of people today are trying to balance work. Okay, so mentioning today helps allude to the historical relevance. Um, any workers. Okay, so I'm not sure if that's your audience yet or not. Workers is a very big general audience, so maybe you've narrowed it down more than that. Let's see. So the original piece is toward companies, managers, and employees. Good inclusion in the thesis statement here about something that you feel she didn't do so well. So that's good. That was hopeful or expected, and hope that you would catch that. So good job with that. However, I'm not really seeing a different audience because you say here that her audience was companies, managers, employees, and you're not really giving me a different audience. It seems like you're just still writing to that, maybe that same audience, because you're saying workers, right? So let's see. You got the topic there. You got the genre there, which I can tell by verbs such as while she presents, focuses, scribes. Those tell me that it's probably informational. The purpose is there, I think, within all of that. And the audience, though, is unclear. Not real sure who your chosen audience is yet, unless you mention it later. But as of right now, it doesn't seem to be very clear who that is. So, historical, we already said that you touched on that, although you didn't say much. You only really alluded to it just with today. The word today is about the only thing you use to allude to it. So I'll let that count as meets. Um, so let's see. All right, topic of Tyler's article. Your core idea is there. So let's take a look at the details. Now, this is what I look for in the body paragraphs. Topic focused on how. Okay, so this part seems like you're, and I may, if this is this, if you haven't evaluated, or if you did not revise or edit from week 5, then this is probably why I'm seeing the same thing here. In my evaluation of your week 5 project or your week 5 first draft, I probably pointed out the fact that you were writing too much to the rubric, and that's kind of what you're still doing here. So that's a little bit of an issue because when you write to the rubric, you're not really writing an essay. You're just basically creating a list of answers to the rubric points and then filling them in or putting them into paragraph form. So, and that's not really what we're looking for. We look for it to work more like the exemplar shows. So that's very important, and it looks like you still aren't doing that with this one. So so those things are there, but you didn't really do them the right way that they were supposed to be integrated. I mean, I could tell most of those though just from your introduction. So fortunately, that won't really hurt you much in your overall grading. However, what it does tell me though is that you're probably not going to have the kind of details I'm looking for. See, here you talk about the historic. You're basically just coming right out and you're lining everything up with the rubric. And so here you're just simply telling me this is what the historical context and cultural context are, and so forth, right? Core idea, all that stuff is basically just straight up put out there in too much of a matter of fact way. It's sort of like stream of consciousness writing rather than writing the actual essay. And then finally, here you say something about you offer something here for a detail, and then you give one source to back it up. But that's not, again, that's not what I should be seeing. I should be seeing three body paragraphs, each body paragraph touching on something different about based on the thesis statement, and you providing details and multiple details and citations. Now here you do provide a little bit more, so maybe it won't be quite so bad. It's still a little bit too on the nose. So, but you have more. So you do have some details. You do have some evidence. Um, so that's good that you've done that. It's just it would have been much better if you would have been able to write that in the more along the lines of the exemplar. But anyway, that's not too bad. So let's see how you did with your second audience. Now, part two, you introduce the new audience, so it looks like you've done that. So that's very good. New audience is individual workers. Well, that seems like that's what your original audience. What was your audience of the first draft then? Because you basically said in the first draft that it was about uh, workers. Okay, so you definitely don't have a differentiating audience there. Your audience up here is not only not clear, it's apparently just the same as the author's audience, and that's not what is expected. What's expected is for you to have your own audience that you've chosen that's different from what the paper was written to. And here it seems like you're doing the same thing. You're just writing to employees again. So unlike the first audience, we focus more on productivity and workplace efficiency. This audience is more, but the first audience was the same. Unless I'm not somehow missing something. It doesn't seem like you've really given two distinct audiences. Um, all right, so that's a little bit of a problem there. Your new audience, I'm going to have to take some off of that just because it's not really a different audience. At least it doesn't seem to be. All right, many more. Yeah, see, this seems to be a lot of the same writing. And you've only got one source here, one citation so far. That's a problem too, because you're not really. So we're having a problem with the audience needs because the audience isn't different. The writing situation, I'll give you a little bit more for that, but even though it's not really this, it's almost not. I'll go ahead and let that be meets. Writing style is fine, but it's not really differentiated much between the two audiences. So same for conventions. Your communication is fine. Citations and attributions are, yeah, they're good. So that's pretty much it. That's you still ended up with an 81, which is a B, so that's good. And let me make sure I've got all of them marked. Yeah, so um, all right. So that's your grade. Your overall grade is 81, which is still good. It's still B, so that's very good. Um, so as always, if you have questions or need help with anything, let me know. One thing more, I need to check. Okay, references also are not hanging indented, but they're okay otherwise. So we'll keep um, And I'm not going to take any more off for that. So yeah, so you ended up with a B. So that's a good job. And if you have questions, let me know.